With Breaking Bad being one of the most popular TV shows, I was kind of curious to see which episode could possibly be the worst. So I did some searching on Reddit and found an old post that shows a heat map on the IMDB ratings for each episode. In this video, I'll be making this heat map along with the bar chart in Excel. And make sure to stick around because by the end, you'll learn how to add color scales and how to create a visual from a pivot table. So with that being said, let's jump right in. Okay, so I got the data ready to go. If you want to follow along, then you can download the dataset from the description below. And I also provided the final workbook, so you could check that out if you want. Anyways, the first thing that I'm going to do is create a pivot table. And to do this, I'm going to go to the insert ribbon and then click on pivot table. And make sure that the new worksheet is selected and then click on OK. Now it's going to show me a new sheet with the empty table, and I could drag in the fields into the rows and columns to fill up the table. So I'm going to drag in the season into the rows, and then I'm going to drag in the episodes into the columns. And you can see now we can see the rows and the columns, but there's no values inside. So we need to fill the values with the IMDB ratings. So this is going to give me the IMDB rating for each episode in the series. And I'm just going to rename this to just say IMDB ratings instead of the sum. Okay, already this is looking pretty good. Now all we gotta do is clean it up a bit. So we don't need the grand total information. So I'm gonna go to the design ribbon and then go to grand totals. And I'm gonna say off for rows and columns, and that's gonna toggle it off. And I'm gonna rename the row labels to the seasons. And then I'm gonna change the column labels to the episodes. And so that's looking good. And you don't have to do this, but I'm going to change the pivot table color to yellow because I feel like it matches the Breaking Bad theme more. And I'm going to move this whole table down a bit lower because I feel like it's too close to the top. So to do that, I'm going to go to the pivot table analyze and then go to move pivot table. And then I'm just going to click on one of the cells like this one. And then that brought down the whole table. Now the only thing left is adding the color scales to the IMDB rating. So to do that, I'm gonna highlight all of these values and then go to the home ribbon and then click on conditional formatting and then go to color scales and then choose the color gradient that you want. If you want to add a custom color scale, then you can click on more rules and then add your own colors, but I'm just gonna go with the ones that Excel provides me. So I'm gonna go to color scales and I'm gonna do the green and yellow one. So I'm going to do this one. And you can see that this automatically adds a nice color gradient to all the numerical values. And in this case, the greener the cell, then the higher the rating of that episode. So I can see that the worst episode was the 3rd season, 10th episode. And it got a rating of 7.8 out of 10, which is still, in my opinion, really good. And this heat map looks like it's done. So I'm just going to move on to the next topic, which is creating the bar chart. So I'm going to go back to the main data and then click on insert again and then click on pivot table. And then I'm gonna create a bar chart that shows the average IMDB ratings for each season. So the rows is gonna be the season. And then we want the values to be the IMDB ratings. But instead of the sum of them, it's gonna be the average. And I'm also gonna round to 2 decimal places. And so if I do that, then it shows me the average ratings to the nearest 2 decimal places. After that, I'm going to go to the pivot table analyze ribbon and then click on pivot chart. And then I'm just going to create this simple bar chart. Click on OK, and then now we got our bar chart and it's looking pretty good. And the only thing left is to clean this up a bit. So I'm going to go to the pivot chart analyze ribbon and then click on field buttons. It gets rid of the gray things. And then after that, I'm going to rename the title to average IMDB ratings per season. And then I'm also going to add some data labels to it. So I'm going to go to the design ribbon and then click on add chart element, data labels, and I'm going to add it to the outside end. And I'm also going to change the color of this bar chart to green because I think that green's a better fit for the Breaking Bad theme than blue is. So I'm going to go to design and then change colors, and then I'll go with this one. And I'm also going to change the style a bit. So I'm going to click on this drop down arrow and I'm going to try to find one that looks pretty cool. So I like this one. So I'm going to go with this one, and then that's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to do Control C, then go to my other sheet and then paste it down below the heat map that we created before. So yeah, that's looking pretty good now. And I want this to look a bit more complete, so I'm going to add the Breaking Bad logo to this sheet. Okay, so I just copied the logo from the internet on my other window, so I'm just going to paste it here. You don't have to do this, but I think it looks cooler if you have the image. And I'm going to make this image smaller because it's way too big right now. Alright, I just finished centering the logo into the sheet, but one last thing before we go is we need to get rid of these grid lines. So I'm going to go to the view ribbon and then click on or deselect the grid lines. And this looks a lot cleaner than if the grid lines were showing. And I encourage you guys to play around with this data set a bit more. So you could create a bar chart that shows the number of viewers per season or something. And you can maybe create a timeline chart on when each of the seasons were released. Something like that. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you learned something new. And if you liked it, I hope you consider subscribing. And if you want to see me add a color scale on another data set, then you could check out another video that I made in the past on conditional formatting. And I hope to see you there.